It's all good. We're gonna get this going up. Islam Wars. This is September 25th, 2012. Want to send a Earth Day shout out to a brethren of mine, Sean Gummer, that passed away from sickle cell. So today was his Earth Day, so we just want to big him up, put his name in the ethers. What we're starting with today is religious controversy. With regard to the Moors and, is this a religion or whatever, right? So, religious controversy. There was a article written by Noble Drew Ali, and it was published, hidden, and then brought back again. So we're gonna put this out there. In this age, there is still much religious controversy as to the right thing. Big and powerful ministers have come to the conclusion that something is wrong. Some say it is the Ten Commandments. Others say there is a lack of sincerity in the purpose of the churches. Still others think it is all worthless and not fit for the time it takes to attend them. However, whatever their final decision might be, it is certain they will make a change, or rather try to make one. The fact of the matter is that they have always had only a reflection of the truth and not the real thing. Like one who holds up to the sun a mirror and casts a few of its diverted rays in a different direction, so have they done with the truth that is supposed to have come from the east. There are but few people who know what the truth is about man, and that few know that it is foolish to try to impart it to the ignorant. Although the ignorant has finished college, he is a fool right on, being trained to jump through a hoop. The longer he stays in schools, the better he can jump, and the more vivid he will defend his jumping. From the east comes all light, but though the sun is hanging at high noon, the blind cannot see. The same is the Islamic creed from the east, was brought to the Asiatics of America by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and offered to those who were sick at heart, tried for many years, yet they are blind and cannot see the light. Nor is the Prophet trying to put wine in old skins, for he knows that it will burst them. Still he has the only remedy for the nations, the remedy brought by Jesus, Muhammad, Confucius, and all other prophets, which remedy is truth. The nations do not want the truth. It is too stern. But until they accept it and find out where it is, there will always be religious controversy. So religious controversy is something that will continue because the truth is not out there. And on top of the truth not being out there, big and powerful ministers have come to the conclusion that something's wrong. But they refuse to tell the people that they don't have the remedy. They continue to play the game, play the role, and continue to not work while everybody else works. Right? Feeding off the people. So there's always going to be religious controversy. So our job as people with information is to put information out there so people have access to information. Right? And that is the job. Right? And if Noble Drew Ali is telling us that the same is the Islamic creed from the East that was brought to the Asiatics in America by Noble Drew Ali, and he specifically said creed, and he didn't say religion, right? Then the Moors don't have anything to do with religion in the perspective of what the common people think religion is, right? What Moors know about what the common people call religion is that that's dogma, that's rituals, that's customs that people are following and calling that religion, when real religion is order. And order is really government. Right. Religion is the order of government. But that is only known to people who read. So if you want to hide it from a nigger, put it in a book. And you would win for thousands of years. Because one thing they know is that our people don't read. Right? So they're able to just play the game with us. Right? So it's important that we clear up first, before we even go into religious controversy, right, that Noble Drew Ali brought to the Moors their creed. He didn't bring them their religion. The creed that he brought to the Moors is a reflection of the old-time religion, but he didn't bring religion to the Moors in America. Why? Because there's religious controversy, so we don't need it. And the only reason that there's religious controversy, like you said, is because the nations do not want the truth. So because they don't want the truth, they're caught up in religious controversy, where people are going to be arguing about, oh, am I Hebrew? Am I Christian? Am I Jewish? Am I, right? When all of it's irrelevant. Everybody's Muslim. Everybody has to submit to the will of Allah. I don't care who you are, what you are. If you're on this earth plane, you have no choice but to submit to the will of Allah, even atheists. So everybody's Muslim. And this is why well, if you go ask the brother Masons in the lodge, they'll tell you, yeah, Islam, and they'll greet you assalamu alaikum, because they know that the foundation of philosophy, math, science, etc. comes out of Kemet. They know that. Everybody in the world knows that, when they say knowledge comes from the East, everything always goes back to ancient quote-unquote Egypt and the pyramids and, the story, the first A, B, C, D, E, F, G, as far as professions. Every letter, we're the first. Right? Everybody knows that Egypt fell. Everybody knows that the monumental, monolithic structures and buildings and statues that were in Egypt that they uncovered were not ancient. They were built so that people could know what was going on there before they fell. That was left as a landmark. So people would have no confusion in their mind about who built the pyramids and what those people look like. And that they had 2 arms and 2 legs and a head just like everybody else, but they built pyramids with 50-ton bricks, and there's 1 million bricks in a pyramid. And you can't slide a piece of paper between the bricks, because that's how precise they did that. But they were brothers and sisters, just like us right now, walking around, a head 2 arms, 2 legs, heart, etc. Body. Right? Everybody knows that when Egypt fell, right? We're going to go to Noble Drew Ali, because everything's laid out, and all we have to do is take heed to what the prophet said, because the prophet said, take heed to what I say. The Moabites from the land of Moab who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt. Now, why is a pharaoh of Egypt going to be giving these people called Moabites land in northwest Africa and making them the real true possessors and founders of the Moroccan Empire, which includes where Egypt is and over here in America, if the pharaoh didn't know that he was going to fall? So he had to hand it down to somebody. And the most qualified people at that time were the ancient Moabites, who were the Hittites and the Canaanites and all their family. Everybody knows that. That's why Noble Drew Ali put it out there and nobody disputed it. Nobody's not going to come and say Noble Drew Ali was wrong with this book that he wrote. Right? But how are they going to try to, they're going to use religious controversy to try to make him seem wrong. How are they going to do that? By saying that he copied Levi Dowling and the Aquarian Gospel, which is a religious book. Religious controversy. Trying to play the prophet like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like he just had this idea, and in order to make his thing legit, he had to go copy some European. And then nobody's not going to talk about the fact that the European got his information from Asia. Even though Noble Drew Ali said he went to Asia, and it's common knowledge across the planet by people who study that the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America went to Egypt, went to Asia, and was in Persia and all these places studying. He went around the world to gather information about the true history of these people in North America, that for some reason they don't know the true history about themselves when it's everywhere in the world and you don't know. So he laid it out. He told the people that the ancient pharaohs told the Moabites that you can go in this land and this land and this land. Why would you do that? Why would you make a successor if you're not fallen? Peace, fam. Why would you make a successor if you're not fallen? You know how big that jurisdiction is? Right? Oh, it's okay. It'll come back to you. It'll come back to you. Don't worry. Because the brains in your cells don't forget. Yeah. Ruth and all that stuff. Yeah. Right. But again, even with you saying that, right? Even the number one story is Ruth and the Moabites. That's the number one story.
So right there when I was young, it was right in my face, but I didn't know all about this other part.
Yeah, but you were to know now. Right? Because your son picked it up through you knowing about Ruth when you were younger, and then transferring that cell memory to him. So when he heard Moabites, it was, hey, hold on a second. I know about this. Let me check this out. Which is what the point was with Noble Drew Ali. Making us go get information. Go study. Hear something and go check it out. Right? Like, people just read stuff. Yeah, the Moabites from the land of Moab. And then nobody goes and looks up Moabites. They don't go look up Moab. They don't go look up permission, see what that means. They don't go look up Pharaoh, see what that means. They don't go look up Egypt. Like, think about it like this even, right? The Moabites from the land of Moab, like, as far as people who study, right? So just say, and somebody from another part of the world picks up this book, right? The Moabites from the land of Moab received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. That's interesting. Because if you're telling me that this head of this geographical location is called a pharaoh, right? And you're telling me that he is of Egypt, you're telling me that that's the fall. Because Egypt is a Greek name. So Greeks aren't from Egypt. So how did Egypt get a Greek name? Unless that was during the fall. Alright, so these people fell, and then they gave these people called Moabites Northwest Africa. And then they were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. Moroccan Empire, Morocco, that's Maghreb. Automatically, this is where their mind's going. They're going to read Morocco, but in their mind, Maghreb is going to come to them. Right? When Maghreb comes to them, Maghreb, the next thing that's going to come to them is, this has nothing to do with North Africa. Because Morocco in North Africa wasn't until 56. And if he's talking about the pharaohs and the Moroccan Empire, obviously Morocco in North Africa was non-existent at this time. So why is he talking about Morocco in there? Why is he mentioning the word Moroccan Empire?
Do they call something else?
They call it Maghreb. They call it Al-Maroc. Maghreb turned to Morocco. Right? But the key to Maghreb is that there's two Maghrebs. There's Maghreb, and then there's Maghreb Al-Aqsa. And Maghreb Al-Aqsa is Morocco, the farthest west. So people around the world know that there's a Morocco in the west. It's common knowledge to everybody in the world. Right? If you go talk to anybody else that you see in a Fez, they're going to tell you the exact same thing that I'm telling you. Because what? If the nations don't want the truth, cool. You're entitled to not want the truth. That doesn't mean you're not going to get it. And our duty is to give it. Because you should receive it. But again, why don't the nations want the truth? Because it is too stern. Finding out that there's a Morocco in the west, right? If they say Morocco the farthest west, right? What geographical location is that? That's just open. If they say Morocco the farthest west, okay, and we know that this side of the earth is the west, right? Okay, where are they talking about? On the two continents and the isthmus that connects the two continents and all those little islands, right? Where are they talking about? Like right here, as in this table, room, America. Okay, well, America is two continents.
Right in Canada.
So let's say America Corporation, Canada Corporation, U.S. Corporation,
right,
and then joining Jamaica, St. Vincent, and South America.
All right. So when we look at a map's gonna say there's Mexico, and then there's United States, and then there's Canada. Right? The people in the jurisdiction of Mexico, what we call them? The people in Canada, what we call them?
Canadians,
People in the United States, what we call them?
Americans.
America's a continent. What should those people be called if they're from the United States?
There's no United States, son.
Oh, so if there's no United States in, then could there be such thing? Could there be such thing as a United States?
No. United States of America.
And there it is, right, it's sitting there, right there on the map, on a map that you can go anywhere in the world and just pull up a map, just pull out a map, and it's going to tell you Canada, United States, Mexico, and everybody's going to say, yeah, Canada for the Canadians, Mexico for the Mexicans, Americans for United States. Right? And once you notice that something is opposite of truth and you don't do anything about it, then that stands.
They went Canadian, U.S.
Yeah.
South American,
Like,
Jamaican,
yeah.
Vincentian. You hear it all. In.
Yeah.
And then right when you get to the American, they start to put the U.S. to make it corporate.
Right.
To make the United States for their slave trade.
Right.
Central slave trade.
Because the U.S., including Canada, is a plantation. Like, that's what it is. It's a plantation that houses the mini plantations that they call states and provinces, which are all jurisdiction of the Queen.
London.
Right?
The Queen of what?
England.
Queen of England.
It's her jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Canada,
Canada,
US,
Jamaica, everywhere.
everywhere.
But what do you mean by that? You mean she owns it or what?
Yeah.
Because it's private corporations. It's not land. So she owns the corporations.
That's why we have like her face on a bill.
Right. Like, why is her face on the bill if Canada's independent country?
But does she get any money from us?
Of course. Yeah.
That's
Because
what
Where?
it
How does she get it?
through the slave
Well, before that, right? Define money. What's money? Like, when you say, is she getting money for that? What do you mean by money?
This means, you know, if she's getting any asset whatsoever.
Yeah, most definite.
In which form?
fiat.
Any form that she sees fit to get from her wards.
From her what?
Wards.
Subjects.
Subjects.
Okay, but
Well, watch. Let me show you why. Right? Wardship. English law. Wardship was the right of the lord over the person and estate of the tenant. When the latter was under a certain age, when a tenant by night service died, and her heir was under age, the lord was entitled to the custody of the person and the lands of the heir, without any account, until the ward, if a male, should arrive at the age of 21 years, and if a female, 18. That's where, you know, where we get the drinking and driving age and whatever. That's where that comes from. Right? Wardship is also incident to a tenure in sukage, but in this case, not the lord, but the nearest relation to whom the inheritance could not descend, was entitled to the custody of the person and estate of the heir till he attained the age of 14 years, at which period the wardship ceased and the guardian was bound to account. So in other words, they call us a minority so we can become a ward, because a minority is a minor and a ward is a child of the crown. So by us being minorities and accepting that as who we are, right? Even though we know that we're the majority, but we still say that we're the minority. We go under wardship status. And because you're under wardship status, the lord is entitled to the custody of the person and the lands of the heir, right? So you're the heir. You're the heir, and the crown is saying that you're a minor. So because you're a minor, you can't be in control of your own affairs. So we'll just, control everything for you.
Switch it around,
Just like the children did to family.
Right, exactly.
When we take the children from the home and we send them to hospital, and certain time they take them as if the government taking over as a ward. They take them over.
Right.
And they said this child is a ward of the government.
Right.
So the government take over the child, and the child stays with the government until a certain age. The government is 21.
Right.
But that also applies to people without a nationality.
Right.
So everybody walking around saying that they're black, African, American, whatever.
They're wards automatically. So because you're a ward, then you're a minor. And because you're a minor, you can't handle any of your affairs. I don't care what you say. You're a ward. Because just like you're saying, you have no nationality.
But the people that she controls in here in Canada and in America, is it only us as a minority, or do you do that to more people too?
But it depends, because everybody that they do it to, not everybody that they do it to doesn't have a nationality. Majority of people that they do that to try to claim them as wards, they have a nationality. So even if they claim them as wards, those people could still leave the country, go back to where they came from.
But a lot of them don't
and not only could they leave the country, right? If they're giving them flack about being a ward, they say, well, you can't be a ward because you're under the jurisdiction of Canada. Now we own you. What they're gonna do? They're gonna go to their embassy in Canada, right, and chill in there. Just like if you say the priest did it, he's gonna run in the church, and you can't go chase him either. Now you can't chase him because the church is a certain jurisdiction, depending on what church it is. More so Roman Catholic churches than any others.
Jurisdiction? Your own jurisdiction?
Right? Because in Celestine Prophecy, in the movie, what Alim was breaking down in the movie, right? Dudes in the car, they're driving, and they're talking about, the popes. And how were they able to just get this land to found this religion and build on and all this type of stuff? And man straight told him, yeah, they got a land grant from the Moors. It is in the movie that went around the world. Everybody's seen. So everybody knows, but, Negro, black, colored people, they're not into that. They want the guy everybody showing their gun, DVD. That's what they want to watch. You know what I mean? Hood DVD. Right? The real Toronto and those foolishness there. That's what they want. Right? Not knowing that that's the position of the ward. Right? Like we were saying, for example, right? Like, what do you mean they're gonna, okay? King Alfred plan, right? We are confident that the minority could hold any city it took for only a few hours. The lack of weapons, facilities, logistics all put the minority at a final disadvantage. Since the Korean War, this department has shifted minority members of the armed forces to areas where combat is not likely to occur, with the aim of eliminating through combat as many combat-trained minority servicemen as possible. So wars and army and drafts and all that type of stuff is direct depopulation program. They're not going and fighting for a country. They're going and fighting for a private corporation, which means they're expendable. Because you're not fighting for a country. You're gonna go join the Canadian Armed Forces, right? To go be a guinea pig, to go be a wall for some other people to shoot at. Period. Today, the ratio of minority member combat deaths in Vietnam, where they are serving as advisors, quote unquote, is twice as high as minority population ratio to the rest of America. So after they used us up for the war, right, during those times, because they had this idea that they can get rid of black people. We just kill them, put them in the war, and then we get rid of them. Okay, but many of them came back. Because many of them, when they went over there, saw themselves. This is why Muhammad Ali said, I'm not going over there to kill no black people, poor black people. He didn't say I'm not going over there to kill no Vietnamese or no Japanese. He said, I'm not going over there to kill poor black people. Because people over there look like us. And many people took his stance after that. Especially then after he left the nation. Because even Sugar Ray Leonard told Muhammad Ali, and you go ask Muhammad Ali yourself, even Sugar Ray Leonard told him, you know that black, white stuff that you talk, man, that's wrong, man. You can't hate. Like, you can't be the greatest boxer and hate people. Like, you can't do that, man. That's not right, man. Go ask him. Anybody, if you have Muhammad Ali's number, ask him what Sugar Ray Leonard told him about that black stuff that he was talking. And how wrong it was. Because everybody's a human.
So, but he doesn't understand the other part of it.
So he understood. He understood after he saw what happened to Malcolm. He understood very clear. Right? After he got kicked out, just like they did Malcolm. He understood very clear what was going on after that. He even changed his tone and he said, forget that even Sunni Shiite Islam crap. I'm going to be a Sufi in his late years.
What's the Sufi?
Sufi is esoteric Islam. Sufi is the level of Islam where Islam's supposed to be at. Right?
So you know what they do? They kind of they grow off your emotion because they know the racist, the black and white thing is gonna hit an emotional button for us and for them too. So that way, like when they're pushing the black Islamic movement, of course we're gonna fall into it. It's because we're so upset at the conditions that we're living in. But it really diverts you from what the truth is. And the truth is the black and white thing is also in the religion. Because you're Moors. So it's the fact that black, white, and all that is just a color game. It's just a color of law, which is not real law too.
Right. And then also too, what we're gonna be doing more of is promoting the master teachers. Like the real master teachers, not the fake master teachers that people say are master teachers, but don't tell the truth, right? So we're going to read from Master Teacher Taj Tariq Bey's book, U.S. Nigger Industry. If you don't have this book, you can get it at rvbaypublications.com. It's like skinny book. I think it's $15 or something like that, $10 or whatever, right? RV Bay. rvbaypublications.com. And then remember, we're still dealing with religious controversy, and we're going to go to page 21. The book is called The U.S. Nigger Industry. Remember this truth of nature, that electricity is a fundamental characteristic of all matter, associated with the electron and proton of the atom. The biological human body is an electrical chemical being. Thus, based upon this knowledge, social engineers recognize that the operative science of economics management is logically best governed in accord with the principles of natural functional workings of electricity. The applying of this knowledge is the advantageous basis upon which exploitation or colonial vampirism is socially executed. In the field of economics, money is viewed as energy, and that energy is known and recognized as the object of value. Thus, the labors or energies of oppressed people are treated accordingly, and are, by various means of extortion, exploited vampirism. The individual human natural person is viewed from the standpoint of a unit of electrical energy. So the money is really the people's energy,
To build the machine, you say.
right? The 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 money is the people's energy. So as soon as we put on CP24 and they ring the bell, ding, everybody, yeah, and they talk about the money, energy. Somebody said, how much money you got in your account? Energy. I don't have any money in my account. Because if we're really talking money, we're talking about gold and silver. If we're talking about money. If we're talking about what common people think is money, energy. And keep in mind, gold and silver is energy. Because silver is governed by the moon and gold is governed by the sun.
How does that work?
What's that?
Just the currency, because I know that's why they call it currency, because currency is energy. But is it more they refer to the money as energy because they use our energy in order to build their
Not even to build. They use our energy. Period.
period?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how we can cramp the system is stop giving them our energy.
How do we do that?
Like by not supporting them.
Not supporting.
Put your energy towards something that is of like energy.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like opposed to us trying to convince people that they're not Negro, black, colored, right? Just send them to the temple. Because they're supposed to get that there anyways. Like that, like what we're doing, this is not what's supposed to be going on now out here.
Right.
This is really supposed to be a round table of Moorish adepts, so we can figure out, okay, what we're gonna be doing, you know what I mean? And, 9 o'clock, we're out of here tomorrow to start implementing what we talked about tonight. It's not supposed to be class now. Like, they're supposed to go to the temple for that.
True.
Right? You're on a job, right? Nothing's wrong with the job. I have 2. Nothing's wrong with working. People think something's wrong with working. Oh, I don't want to work for the man. What? I don't work for the man. I work for the people who I serve in the communities that I work in. 'Cause I'm a youth worker. So my boss is really the tenants. Right? And my paycheck is really that mom coming and saying, hey, what's his name had a real good time at camp today, and he's gonna come back tomorrow. I don't worry about you guys' paycheck. I'll use it because everybody else out here doesn't, want to deal with the barter system, and they don't want to deal with even though everything's already paid for. But people are greedy, so I'm not gonna knock it. You know what I mean? Like people want fiat, like the landlord, she wants hers, end of the month. You know what I'm saying? Even though everything's paid for. You know, because we are in debt. So
Really?
why are you really even asking for anything?
True.
You know, because I'm not giving you anything. I mean, I might as well just give you these pieces of paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the energy. And once we look at it, right? Because what did Noble Drawley say? If I could get you guys to think, you're gonna save yourself. You're not gonna need me if you just think about what you're doing. Think about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, I had
Don't
an idea.
go off on a limb just because it sounds good, so I'm gonna just go with this. No, like check it out. Check it out 50 times before you even put down, you know, a comment. You know what I mean? Much less say you're gonna support it, go in your pockets, write the check or whatever. You know? Check it out. What we're talking about. Don't just, oh yeah, you know, Kudrow said that. No, that's legit because he's a Grand Sheik. So that's how we got in this mess. By following people thinking that, oh yeah, well, he has the title of Grand Sheik, so obviously he's telling the truth when that's COINTELPRO agent.
Well, one thing when I came to Temple, one thing that you taught, and one thing that you told all of us was be your own Grand Sheiks.
Yeah. Because that's how I was taught.
Exactly.
That's not me. You know what I mean? That's how it was dropped. That's how it was dropped to me.
Exactly.
Well, here's everything. You're Grand Sheik now, so go do something with what you got. What do you mean? What do you mean? You have this book, this book, this book, this book, this DVD, this thing, this bam, bam, bam. Here's the charter. Here's this. Here, go.
But that's how you know it's not faith, it's not religious. You know, like when you go to churches, it's like you have the pastor, you
Right.
go to the mosque.
There's two aspects of it.
Pardon me?
It's like there's two different aspects. So the religious and then the teaching, like this teaching, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
The one always needs the other, though. Sure.
But you know, it's like male and female. It's like yin and yang. People are gonna say, yeah, yin and yang, but those two things are in one circle. So those two things are really one thing. It's not two things.
Yeah, it's one thing.
You know what I mean?
One spiritual, one
Right?
flesh.
It's one thing. But just like that, even when we look at that, well, yeah, the spirit and then the flesh. Yeah, but the spirit is housed in the flesh. So it's one thing. It's not separate. You know what I mean? It's one thing.
Even though there's different components,
It's still that one, yeah. You know what I mean? Rubik's Cube. You know, there's all these sides, all these lines, whatever, but yo, it's a one cube. You know, and everybody's working in unison for it to be what it is. You know, which is where it's supposed to be by now. It's not there, more so because of infiltrators using their title. And then people running after a title, thinking that the title's something. Title ain't nothing. That's like one of the Grand Sheiks said, yo, we put Grand Sheik on a dog, bring him up here on the podium. Everybody's gonna be going with him, following the dog, yo. Just cause, you know, Adept gave him the title. Yeah, you're Grand Sheik, dog. Come on, puppy, get up on the podium. Like, do the sermon.
That's not how it's been, man.
You know?
I never understood why people don't get that part.
Right, but that was what we were talking about in the beginning, that there's religious controversy because the truth isn't coming out. Right? Okay. Religious controversy. Right? Treaty of Verona. Again, this is across the world. Everybody knows about this. This is not something we're bringing it up because people don't know, especially our people. But people who have a nationality, they know about this. This is part of their studies when they go to school, university, whatever.
Treaty of Roma or
Verona. Verona. Right? Treaty of Verona. And keep in mind that the Treaty of Verona being read right now is because of a senator that brought it up in the Senate. So they're convening and he just had to say something. And then this is what he had to say, right? And this is in 1916, by the way. Senator Owen, I wish to put in the record the secret Treaty of Verona, of November 22nd, 1822, showing what this ancient conflict is between the rule of the few and the rule of the many. Minority, majority again, right? I wish to call the attention of the Senate to this treaty because it is the threat of this treaty which was the basis of the Monroe Doctrine. It throws a powerful white light upon the conflict between the monarchical government, queen and etc., right, and government by the people, which is the republics, which is Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, that this is a republic, right? Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag and the republic. So the republic is government by the people, and everything else is monarchical. The Holy Alliance, under the influence of Metternich, the Premier of Austria, issued this remarkable secret document, Secret Treaty of Verona, American Diplomatic Code, 1778 to 1884, Volume 2, Elliot, page 179. The undersigned specially authorized to make some additions to the Treaty of the Holy Alliance after having exchanged their respective credentials have agreed as follows. Article 1. The high contracting powers, being convinced that the system of representative government is equally as incompatible with the monarchical principles as the maxims of the sovereignty of the people with the divine right, engage mutually in the most solemn manner to use all that their efforts to put an end to the system of representative governments in whatever country it may exist in Europe, and to prevent it being introduced in those countries where it is not yet known. Article 2. As it cannot be doubted that the liberty of the press is the most powerful means used by pretended supporters of the rights of nations to the detriment of those princes, the high contracting parties promise reciprocally to adopt all proper measures to suppress it, not only in their own states, but also in the rest of Europe. Article 3, so everybody knows. Convinced that the principles of religion contribute most powerfully to keep nations in a state of passive obedience, which they owe to their princes, the high contracting parties declare it to be their intention to sustain their respective states those measures which clergy may adopt with the aim of ameliorating their own interests, intimately connected with the preservation of the authority of the princes and the contracting powers, joining in offering their thanks to the Pope for what he has already done for them, and solicit his constant cooperation in their views of submitting the nations. Then it goes on, there's 7 articles, right? So this is where Senator Owen went after now. I asked to have printed in the Congressional Record this secret treaty because I think it ought to be called now to the attention of the people of the United States and of the world. This evidence of the conflict between the rule of the few versus popular government should be emphasized on the minds of the people of the United States, that the conflict now waging throughout the world may be more clearly understood, for after all said, the great pending war springs from the weakness and frailty of government by the few, where human error is far more probable than the error of the many, where aggressive war is only permitted upon the authorizing vote of those whose lives are jeopardized in the trenches of modern war. Mr. Shafroth, Mr. President, I should like to have the senators state whether in that treaty there was not a coalition formed between the powerful countries of Europe to re-establish the sovereignty of Spain in the republics of South and Central America. Senator Owen, I was just going to comment upon that, and I'm going to take but a few moments to do so because I realize the pressure of other matters. This Holy Alliance, having put a Bourbon prince upon the throne of France by force, then used France to suppress the condition of Spain immediately afterwards, and by this very treaty gave her subsidy of 20 million francs annually to enable her to wage war upon the people of Spain and prevent their exercise of any measure of the right of self-government. The Holy Alliance immediately did the same thing in Italy by sending Austrian troops to Italy, where the people there attempted to exercise a like measure of liberal constitutional self-government. And it was not until the printing press, which the Holy Alliance so stoutly opposed, taught the people of Europe the value of the liberty that finally one's country after another seized a greater and greater right of self-government, until now it may be fairly said that nearly all the nations of Europe have a very large measure of self-government. However, I wish to call the attention of the state to this important history in the growth of constitutional power, self-government. It was because of this conspiracy against the American republics by the European monarchies that the great English statesman Canning called the attention of our government to it, and our statesmen then, including Thomas Jefferson, who was still living at the time, took an active part to bring about the declaration by President Monroe in this next inaugural message to the Congress of the United States that the United States will regard it as an act of hostility to the government of the United States and an unfriendly act if this coalition or any power of Europe ever undertook to establish upon the American continent any control of any American republic or to acquire any territorial rights. This is the so-called Monroe Doctrine. The threat under the Treaty of Verona to suppress popular government in the American republics is the basis of the Monroe Doctrine. This secret treaty sets forth clearly the conflict between the monarchical government and popular government, and the government of the few against the government on the many. It is a part in reality of developing popular sovereignty when we demand for women's equal rights to life, to liberty, to the possession of property, to an equal vote in the making of the laws and the administration of the laws. This demand on the part of the woman is made by men, and it ought to be made by men as well as by thinking progressive women, as it will promote human liberty and human happiness. I sympathize with it, and I hope that all parties will, in the national conventions, give their approval to this larger measure of liberty to the better half of the human race. Senator Owen, Congressional Record 1916. So it's not like they don't know. And when Moors know and pretend like they don't know, probably an agent. If Moors aren't coming out and talking about these types of matters, if they're only talking about, you know what Noble Drew Ali said? You know, Noble Drew Ali said go study. He never said go parrot me and tell everybody do what I did and say what I say. He said go study. And study. So you don't have any time to pay attention to titles and people in positions of power, because you're supposed to be studying. Right? Now, that leads us into the doctrine of colorability. We talked about this before, just bringing it up again to show how you know, they put down all these levels of fraud, right? They put down all these things that they don't have any authority to put down, but they put them down anyways, and then people go with them. And then that's what gives it the power. Just like people went with paper is money, okay, that gave that the power, right? It's even as bad now where plastic card is money. Now that has power, that you can run that up to 80 mil. You can get an unlimited one of those. If you have an unlimited one of those little cards, then you don't need money. Paper. Which was the same reason why you had the paper, because nobody didn't want to walk around with all this gold and silver on their shoulders. Which is how the money came about, to make transactions easier. But then they flipped that, because that was actually supposed to be beneficial, right? They flipped that, and now they have people, everybody got plastic. You just go to the supermarket and just, you know, pretend you're shopping and just look at how much people pay and what they're paying with. Everybody's swiping. Stick the card in.
The funny thing
Except for
is,
the Asian market.
Oh yeah, the Asian market. The Asian market, you don't have no cash only.
No.
That means cash only,
Yo, those cash registers, they don't put on.
right? Right. You want to say something?
no, the funny thing is, we're talking about how they just create these numbers, right? It's like when you go to the bank, the principal and the interest. But now people are fighting over the fact that they're getting rid of paper money, and it really makes no difference. It's all this debt. So even if you do have the card, and you're saying, and you're complaining about the system that we're throwing too much money into the system, so it's decreasing the value of the money, really doesn't make any difference.
Right. It doesn't.
Because it's just all debt.
Right. So we're at the point where we've gone with the life for so long.
Mm-hmm.
We've been involved in the religious controversy so long,
Mm-hmm.
right? That the religious controversy has now become a reality. So you have paper money, you have European Jesus, you have, you know, like all these colorable actions that people think are the real deal, right? The doctrine of colorability. The doctrine of colorability is the idea that when the legislature wants to do something that it cannot do within the constraints of the Constitution, it colors the law with a substitute purpose which will still allow it to accomplish its original goal. So they're exercising doctrine of colorability all across the board, right? Doctrine of colorability. When legislature wants to do something that it cannot do within the constraints of the Constitution. So when the constraints of the Constitution are too tight for them to say, show me your license so I can give you a ticket, they create Highway Traffic Act. And now they're going to use the Highway Traffic Act under the guise that it's constitutional, because you're talking about people's rights, even though they say driving is a privilege. But they know, you know, people aren't going to catch that. That's why they keep saying that. And everybody goes, you know, and takes the form off the wall and signs their contract that, thank you, Ministry of Transportation, for giving me this privilege called driving. That you could only give me because I gave you my right to travel.
But isn't the game gone? Isn't it too far to be stopped?
No, it's never
That's
too
why
far
it
to be
should
stopped.
With law. Like US.
Well, okay, put it like
It has
this.
to be stopped by war. Like it's too deep now to be stopped.
Yeah,
It's the
you
law,
can't
right?
fight negative with negative. It's not gonna work. You're gonna destroy the world.
But it's too deep.
No, you can't say that. It's not deep at all.
It's not deep at all.
This is yesterday's stuff, man.
Yeah,
It's stuff that they did
I don't
yesterday.
think you need to stop it, but I think it's kind of hard for you to picture it and stop.
Because you're thinking you need to
Yeah.
do it, but you're talking about your children seeing what you do.
We're talking about your children's 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 children.
It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
Our parents
You know?
fell into it. Before that, they fell into it, and that's why we're here. Now we're like, okay, we want to figure it out, so we could be sure. Not for us.
Not for us.
Yeah, for the generation.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So that's why you see the kids, you teach them. You teach them about the
Right.
license and everything.
Right.
Highway traffic act. So when they go to class,
But for us, it's too late. It's never gonna happen.
No, it's not.
That.
what are you talking about? I drive without no license all the time. Let me take me to court.
But I mean, as a mass, like, as everybody just waking up or
But
whatsoever.
it takes
Yeah, well,
one person.
it's never been. Like, I mean, even when you look at like everybody en masse doing it, like it doesn't. We don't need everybody en masse to do it. You know what I mean? Because of what you're saying, like it's so deep, right? Yeah, it's so deep, but you know, like it's so deep, but we have the submarine, so who cares how deep it is? Let's go. You know what I mean? Like,
But the word
yeah, it's deep, but
the words need to get out more in the public.
but again, the word was supposed to get out in the public from everybody who came after Noble Drew Ali. Everybody, because everybody knew about him. It's not a secret, right? If we use the we were talking about this last week, right? We have a picture with Noble Drew Ali sitting down next to Oscar the Priest, who is known in black history as the first black congressman in Chicago, right? Like it's it's known. He's in all the black books. The brother that you know could pass as white, but it was really a brother, right? Just like all the other, you know, Abraham Lincoln and all these other people. It's the exact same MO, mulatto, half Moor, half European, that's in charge, that's wanting to do something, and then, you know, they get cut down because they were really wanting to try to use that person as an agent, and majority of those quote-unquote mulattoes have a little bit too much sincerity because they're going to want to know both their sides. They're not going to play the, well, you know, because I'm European side, so I'm just going to hold on to that side. And no, everybody who I know that's fair-skinned, you know, half-breed or whatever, they know about their other side.
Why is it that
They play the two sides. They don't hold on to a side, you know. And all the ones that I know, the ones that I know that are quote-unquote half-breed, like their quote-unquote black side is like the revolutionary side. Like they study Huey P. Newton and Malcolm X, and like that's who they are. You know, that's their side that they know. They don't know the slave side of themselves. They know the rebellious side. You know, and then half of that is because half their life they're trying to get accepted by us, the darker ones, who's saying, "Oh no, you're too light to get down with it." Right? When that they're part of the family. Like, can't hit on them.
Some of them even move more thorough
Yeah,
than the darker ones too.
way more thorough than the darker ones.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the door.
The spook, yo.
Yeah, but you see the thing I don't understand. Why are we using them against the dark skin people?
Hmm?
Why is it all they're always using the light skin one against the dark skin?
That's because of the people. That's not because of
No, but I mean, because here's the thing. I seen something one time like this document from what is it, Dr. Sadiq.
yeah.
He's talking about how melanin is karma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, coming back to what you say, how the whole body is electrical.
Yeah.
So on, right?
Yeah.
If you go based on that kind of science, that means that the darker you are, really, the more electricity you have, right?
Yeah.
The more electricity you have, that means the more every one of you function, like your physical and spiritual, is stronger.
Right.
So I was thinking, could that be the reason why y'all were trying to keep the dark skin down the
Yeah.
most? Because
Well, yeah, for sure.
actually have
for
the
sure.
skill to stick it with
But
thinking.
yeah, for sure.
Right?
I mean, you know,
Because there's a reason why they all go after the dark skinned people first, but they never do nothing for
Right.
no reason. These guys.
but again, right? It's our perspective is that when they say dark skin, they're talking about, you know, the darkest of the darkest, and not like us, right? But when they say dark skin, they're talking about from somebody who looks Chinese to the darkest purple blue people,
Thanks, Kuju.
right?
I like how you did this.
Even when I was thinking about the all these guys were light skinned dudes.
Yeah, but I
Their
mean,
whole purpose was to keep away the black men. The only black men used to be, I don't know why I see this document. The only one that they left inside the church or wherever the temple where they were teaching was Marcus Garvey.
Yeah.
And he couldn't like kick him out. They're like, he's the only dark one. They're trying to kick him out when he came in, and then he's like, oh no, leave him alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marcus Garvey's a dark skinned dude too.
Yeah.
And most of the biggest leaders and the one that really done something were dark skinned.
yeah, but
That's probably why.
but again,
the energy.
but also the energy of the time period, the time frame, you know, because if you know, if it's a hotter climate, there's going to be more dark skinned people, no matter where you go, you know. The South has the darker people. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? Not that there's not some fair skinned people in the South, you know, but generally, you know, but then, you know, it's not even that, because that's even fiction, right? That you know, different shades of people, and that's fiction.
So it's more our fault.
I mean,
Or even when I look at sport, I look at the biggest champion in sport. Like, you look at Michael Jordan, and the one that really did stuff that was like out of this world. They always seem to be darker skinned people.
yeah, but again, like there's no darker.
Yeah, but
Like there's not dark and darker, right? Just like how they're gonna say that there's a light skinned black girl. You know what I mean? Like you can't have darker. There's nothing called that.
Yeah.
Like you can have there's a dark skinned person, but then there's a darker skinned person than the dark person. Like it's not that, it's dark across the board. You know what I mean? You know? They don't have, you know, they have chocolate, then dark chocolate. They don't have the chocolate that's darker than the dark chocolate is dark chocolate. Like it's not darker than the dark chocolate, right? But then once they get us not to think, right? Which was the job of all of these, you know, when we talk about infiltrators and, you know, agents and all that stuff. That's what they're there for, to stop us from thinking. You know, because once we're not thinking, then someone's thinking for us. Automatic. That's just how it goes. If you think in your mind, right? If you think in your mind, I'm black, and you're not really that, right? That means you're not using your mind. And if you're not using your mind, then somebody else is going to use it for you, no problem. Right? Don't get mad when, you know, you wake up one morning and you just happen to go to your closet and there's only skinny jeans in my closet. Like, when did I start wearing these jeans? Like, hold on a second.
No, this is getting real personal.
No, like, it's real. Yo, it's real.
This is getting real personal now. Joe,
Yo, I told him that I was gonna say, yo, don't say it's skinny.
No, but those are the soccer ones though. Those are the soccer ones. You know what I mean?
More of a skinny jeans.
Right?
And you know that. Because you see me all the time wearing skinny
Right?
jeans.
You know what I mean?
But I'm
You know
gangster.
what
I keep it gangster.
Keep it gangster, yo.
Gangster.
Right?
Don't worry about
You know what I mean?
Straight.
Because we preoccupy ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We preoccupy
It's
ourselves.
a personal one for you, man.
Get caught up in things. Right? It's and like we're saying, yo, it's deep. It's really that deep.
But
You know what I mean?
like, I think really the Europeans, they respect us. You know, they're not respecting us now is because we're not in our right form. We're not in our proper persona.
Exactly.
You know, but they know that we are the top. You know, the top of tops out here still. You know, but they have to see that from you. Like because we've lost our way. It's like they don't even respect us. Like they look at us like, oh man, we're supposed to be following y'all.
Yeah, it's like the people, the way we look at the Vatican right now. We're like, follow them. Follow them. Because they're supposed to be doing certain things or whatever the case may be. They let the people down. So most of the people don't look to the leaders. So as us, we're like, we let the world down, G.
For real.
We let humanity down.
Yeah, but
Not
at the same time, a lot of these things kind of happen as a punishment for what we did from before.
Right.
It's karma, right?
Yeah.
Karma that came back with
Right.
that power.
exactly.
This is why we talk about it's not for you, it's for your children. Because they say
Yeah.
the sins of the parents for the children. It's
Yeah.
not working.
Right? So, you know, and we have the sins of our parents, right? You know, it's not even
Yeah. So
We're holding
your blessing now moving forward for your sin, for your children is to start practicing and showing them certain things. And then your blessings gonna follow them because they're in their right mind.
right. So that's all it is. Once we get back in our right mind, things are gonna turn around automatic. You know? But it starts with children, it doesn't start with us. We're not getting nothing out of this. That's why we tell more, prepared to get your face punched in, like just be ready. You know what I mean? It's nothing personal. But as soon as you say, I'm a Moor, there's people coming out to assassinate you. Especially up here. Because we're telling you, doctrine of colorability and all that type of stuff, it's not no joke. They will create a jurisdiction in your face, look at you, smile, tell you happy birthday, Merry Christmas, and all that. And try to turn you into a terrorist group after they funded you.
Can I say something? This is why I tell a lot of the Moors, even within the temple, is that if you're not ready to hold your square, you might as well not say nothing. Because you are going to meet stuff that you have to be ready for. And sometimes Moors come out, sometimes these dudes come out and they talk a little bit too much. Right? So I'm saying, you know what? Hold your ground. This is supposed to be humble. This is not supposed to be arrogance here.
Right.
We don't go on the bus and start talking loud about Europeans and start bashing them because Europeans are our people too. Just how they're, you know, we're their people too. It's not about a race thing. So I'm saying, be humble. Do your study, but walk with humbleness out there. You know what I'm saying? If you're not ready, you might as well just hold it down.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we're in the era of the knowing, and my daughter, who's 11, because the kids now, they think different from how we grew.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. My daughter must have been talking about one of her regents to her mom. Her mom was like, "Oh, where's your friend from? Like, what's your background?" So I was like, "What's that mean? What are you talking about?" She couldn't. Like, what do you mean?
Digest the separation.
Yeah. Where you from? You know what I mean? So I was like, real. You know? And I haven't thought her in like
That's just
she's
up there,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? But that's the kids. Just look at the kids. Ask them. If you want to ask certain things, ask the kids.
The kids are always good until they get in the system. Until they start going to school.
Parents, TV, all
all
that
that stuff.
stuff.
So when they're young and none of that stuff is in here, they all have the right intuition. Is that a word?
Intention?
Intuition.
That's it.
Yeah.
They always have the right one, but it's when they start going to school in a certain system.
Yeah. More McDonald's in the system.
Yeah.
This is that after what?
But that's that. Well, why is that? That's not because of the system. That's because dumbass parents want to send their youths to brainwash camp.
School is just a daycare, fam. Just remember that when you say So you stay here, chill out, hang out. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Be good.
You know, and
I'll
again,
teach you what you need to when I come home.
yeah, nothing's not wrong with even school. Nothing's not wrong with school if you're doing your due diligence at home. You know what I mean? If you're doing your due diligence at home, you could send your your child to that brainwash camp. You know what I mean?
Because they have the base. They have the base.
Maybe we can play better. We can play better than
Most definitely. That's just natural.
But we want to get it to, we just break down the educational system so that it's no more.
But again, it comes back to energy. Stop giving. If we stop putting our children in there, they won't have no education system. It will fall tomorrow. If we're not even talking to everybody across the board, we're just talking Asiatics only. Say, you know what? I think I'm gonna take the day off today and teach my youth at home. One day, we just said, yo, you know what? We're not taking our youth today.
Use family day.
Family day.
You know what I mean? To work, stay at home,
right?
And teach your kids. So talk.
And then see what happens the day after when they go back.
Your question.
You know what I mean? You know. And don't forget, when I say Asiatics, I'm talking about, you know, Hindus and Chinese and Asians and Japanese and right, across the board, and see how fast things will change. See how fast they'll be wanting to implement Moorish class and all that type of stuff for bring us back up in there. We'll make Grand Sheik the principal for you guys to come back, please. You know what I mean? Big time, right? Also on top of the doctrine of colorability, doctrine of discovery. So papal bulls in the 15th century gave Christian explorers the right to claim lands they discovered, quote unquote, and lay claim to those lands for their Christian monarchs. Any land that was not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered, quote unquote, claimed and exploited. If the quote unquote pagan inhabitants if the pagan inhabitants could be converted, they might be spared. If not, they could be enslaved or killed. Oh, okay, so hold on a second. So if the pagan inhabitants of the place where these Christians went could be converted, they'll be spared. But if they couldn't be converted, they'll be killed or enslaved.
And pagan meaning village dwellers. It's not like pagan is just village dwellers.
Right.
When they go there, they bring their Christianity. See, you know about Jesus did it.
You know about Jesus? No, who's that? Oh yeah, shining. You know, blah 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 blah.
They're like, oh, kill him.
Yeah, kill him, right? And then right, and then after they kill him, then they say, oh, we discovered this land because of the doctrine of discovery.
Yeah, it's vacant.
It's vacant. So now we discovered it.
Wet blood on the ground.
Yeah.
None of it dry it.
The discovery.
Thanksgiving after.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't forget the Thanksgiving, yo.
And the culture.
The discovery doctrine is a concept of public international law, expounded by the United States Supreme Court in a series of decisions, initially in Johnson versus McIntosh in 1823. The doctrine was Chief Justice John Marshall's explanation of the way in which colonial powers laid claim to newly discovered lands during the Age of Discovery. So there's something called Age of Discovery. So you could go check that out. And then tie Age of Discovery with Doctrine of Discovery. Under it, title to newly discovered lands lay with the government. Lay with the government whose subjects discovered new territory. The doctrine has been primarily used to support decisions invalidating or ignoring Aboriginal possession of land in favor of colonial or post-colonial governments. John Marshall, who is most credited with with describing the doctrine, did not voice wholehearted support of the doctrine even while using it to justify judicial decisions. He pointed to the doctrine as a simple fact, looking at the possession takings which had been supported by it as things which had occurred and had not to be recognized. The supposedly inferior character of native cultures was a reason for the doctrine having been used, but whether or not that was justified was not relevant for Marshall. The doctrine governs United States Indian law today and has been cited as recently as 2005 in the decision City of Sherrill versus Oneida Indian Nation of New York. So all of that leads us to, just like you're saying, this thing's so deep, right? So this thing's so deep, so how are we supposed to get out of this? Like, what are we really supposed to do to, cause something to happen, right? So what happened in 1865, right? Mulatto, Brother Moore, by the name of Abraham Lincoln, came up with this brilliant idea, right? Now, he was the implementer, but it was like a federal agency. So the federal government came and said, okay, you know what? This is how we're going to solve the problem of slaves. Right? We know what we're going to do. We have the idea, right? Everybody heard about when we were in slavery and then got out of slavery, there was all this talk about we're supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. And how come we never got 40 acres and a mule? Okay. The freedman, huh?
40 acres and a mule.
More than what we have right now. 40 acres and a mule. It's deep. It's bigger than that though. Still, yeah. I think that was like that was just the slogan.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So there's more
but it was
to
deeper. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was
like
deeper than that.
40 acres
Yeah. 40 acres and a mule is nothing. Yeah. That's
I don't
nothing.
like that negotiations,
Yeah.
Sold 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah. Right. But remember, keep in mind, doctrine of colorability and doctrine of discovery.
Oh yeah.
So 40 acres and a mule could go on. Right. The Freedmen's Bureau was formed on March 3rd, 1865. The Congress created it as a division of the Army. The original duty of the Bureau was to aid in the transition of blacks from slaves to free men and women. Army men made up a majority of the members because it was a division of the national defense. However, there were not enough people to serve, so the transition did not go as easily as hoped. At the peak of the Bureau's membership, there were only 900 volunteers. This may seem like a large number, but it is actually minute considering the tasks the Bureau members undertook. The Bureau was given legal rights in 1865, but these rights were very limited. They were allowed to try black people only if federal courts would not hear the cases. The government army officials frowned upon the Bureau's methods because they did not like the idea of trying citizens in military settings. One of the jobs of the Freedmen's Bureau was to provide medical care to newly freed slaves. Several of them had been beaten and abused by their masters. Nourishment was also a major part in the health of the freedmen. The Bureau distributed an average of 150,000 rations a day. So not only was this process demanding on the members, it was also expensive. Another job of the Freedmen's Bureau was to divide 850,000 acres of government-seized land into 40-acre sections. I wonder where they seized the land from. The Bureau sold these sections to the freed slaves to start farms of their own. This land gave many people hope, but the government had to give the land back to its original owners. Right? Bureau members also tried to oversee labor relations and contract draftings, but this seemed impossible for the Bureau members to do because they had little to no authority. Having the land stripped from them and the legalities of labor contracts denied, many of the freedmen had to rely on the rich white landholders to survive. The one task that the Bureau had that everyone thinks of when asked what the Freedmen's Bureau did is the task of educating the African Americans. This was a big task because before this point it was illegal to educate black people. The freedmen's schools were organized by several teachers who had come from the North after the war. Almost $5 million Almost $5 million were spent by government to build these schools and pay the teachers. The Freedmen's Bureau was not working alone on this task. Organizations like the American Missionary Association helped also. Between 1866 and 1870, nearly 80,000 freed black people were educated. The literacy rate increased by 15% during the Bureau's years of educating. Some of these Negroes that were taught by the Freedmen's Bureau went on to further their education at black colleges and universities like Fisk and Hampton. Eventually, black people began teaching at the Freedmen's schools. Many of these pupils went on to be fierce leaders of the African American race. The Freedmen's Bureau was disbanded in 1869 as a division of the Defense Department, but some volunteers continued to reconstruct the South. These dedicated men and women who continued serving were often called carpetbaggers because they came in from the north with bags that looked like they were made of carpet. The task these men and women undertook is still at work today in the lives of black men and women who are striving to better themselves. Right?
This is a doctrine.
This Freedmen's Bureau. Yeah. 1865. They dedicated men and women who continued to serve were often called carpetbaggers because they came in from the north with bags that looked like they were made of carpet. So now we go to encyclopedia definition of the Freedmen's Bureau. In U.S. history, a federal agency formed to aid and protect the newly freed blacks in the South after the Civil War. Established by an act March 3, 1865 under the name Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, it was to function for 1 year after the close of the war. A bill extending its life indefinitely and greatly increasing its powers was vetoed February 19, 1886 by President Andrew Johnson. Keep that name in mind. President Andrew Johnson, who viewed the legislation as an unwarranted and unconstitutional continuation of war powers in peacetime. The veto marked the beginning of the president's long and unsuccessful fight with the radical Republican Congress over Reconstruction. Reconstruction, 1865 to 77 in U.S. history, the period of readjustment following the Civil War. At the end of the Civil War, the defeated South was a ruined land. In slightly different form, the bill was passed over Johnson's veto on July 16, 1866. Organized under the War Department with General Oliver Howard Oliver Otis, Union General in the Civil War, founder of Howard University, made a Brigadier General of Volunteers. As its commissioner, and thus backed by military force, the Bureau was one of the most powerful instruments of Reconstruction. Howard divided the ex-slave states, including the border slave states that had remained in the Union, into 10 districts, each headed by an assistant commissioner. The Bureau's work consisted chiefly of 5 kinds of activity: relief work for both blacks and whites in war-stricken areas, regulation of black labor under new conditions, administration of justice in cases concerning the blacks, management of abandoned and confiscated property, and support of education for blacks. In its relief, the education activities, the Bureau compiled an excellent record, which, however, was too often marred by unprincipled agents, both military and civilian, in the local offices. Its efforts toward establishing the freed blacks as landowners were nil. To a great degree, the Bureau operated as a political machine, organizing the black voter for the Republican Party. Its political activities made it thoroughly hated in the South. When under the Congressional Plan of Reconstruction, new state governments based on black suffrage were organized in the South, with many agents holding various offices. The work of the Freedmen's Bureau was discontinued July 1st, 1869. Its educational activities, however, were carried on for another 3 years. Now, Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president and was assassinated in 1865. Now, when a president gets assassinated or killed or comes out of power, who's supposed to be the next person? If the president doesn't get to finish his term, right? Vice president is supposed to step up, right? So, if Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president and Andrew Johnson was the 17th president, that he should have been the vice president. All right. Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln's vice president that nobody doesn't want to talk about.
Johnson?
Right? Hannibal Hamlin. Hannibal Hamlin. Hamlin. Hannibal Hamlin. Hamlin was Lincoln's vice president during his first term. He was a popular and experienced politician in his day, but his party saw things differently. They felt that adding a Southerner to the 1864 ticket would add more appeal. So for the presidential race, they kicked out Hamlin and brought in Andrew Johnson. Lincoln and Johnson easily won the election. However, barely a month after the new term began, Lincoln was shot and Johnson took over his presidency. His presidency is now infamous for being one of the worst in history. It is probably fair to say that if Hamlin had won, he could have made a far better president than Johnson.
Why do we not know that Hamlin keep getting kicked out and was Lincoln assassinated wasn't all big to get Johnson out there?
Right. That's what we put together, right? Yeah. That's what we put together, right? So let's go further. The New York Times of November 2nd, 1860 quotes from the Montgomery Mail. The Montgomery, Alabama Mail grows more furious as election approaches. In a recent issue, it says, unquestionably, our people are preparing to take care of themselves in the event of the success of black republicanism. Black's supposed to be democratic, right? Oh. So how come in 1860 they're republics? Because blacks are really the Moors, who are really we the people, who are really the people that make up the government that we were talking about earlier. That the Treaty of Verona was set up in order for this not to happen. That they're so furious about. That, you know, blacks are taking over again. What are we going to do about this? Because they know that we are the republic, right? But they got us to go democratic very fast. and abandon the republic. Right? The agents of the free soil power are getting more chary in their expression of their sentiments and opinions about the duty of the South. From all quarters come the notes of resistance. As soon as the election is over, our citizens will be pretty well united. God send that day speedily. We glory in the fact that the overt act men are gradually disappearing. The blood of the South is becoming hot. The day is not 3 weeks off when the agents and pioneers will have to be very, very cautious. The best men of the South, and of the North too, have declared that the South must not, cannot live under black Republican rule. If for no other reason, the South would resist the Lincoln administration on account of the mulatto Hamlin. And the true Southern sentiment is making itself felt. Every day adds to its strength. Glorious South Carolina will lead the way, and Alhambra, Florida, or sorry, that was my bad. And Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi will follow. Good thing you said that, because I wouldn't correct myself. Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi will follow and stand by her side. Hannibal Hamlin, who served as a representative, governor, and senator for Maine before the 1860 election, had a swarthy, dark complexion and was widely rumored in the South to be of African American ancestry. Maine. Senator from Maine.
So Abraham Lincoln was mulatto.
Yeah.
That was dark.
And then
That's what they said is a mulatto. But he's dark mulatto.
right.
So he and Lincoln would do good together.
And him and Lincoln were gonna do good together.
So they kick him out and put Johnson in.
And then they assassinated Lincoln. Don't forget.
So what caused they kick him out? What do you say? Why they kick him out?
Because because we cannot live under black Republican rule in the South.
So they just kick him out with no reason other than that. They made like some kind of reason. Sometimes in politics they make a reason.
No, it was straight. It was straight.
Like that, right?
Get off the seat of power.
Yeah, they could do that.
Right? Because remember, this is 1860.
That's true.
Remember, this is 1860, 1865, 1870. So the mulattoes would be the last Moors in the seat of government at that time. Anybody that's mulatto, they need to get them out, because that mulatto would have the power when he becomes president to do what the Moors are supposed to do. And that's a chance that they weren't willing to take. So they straight told Hamlin, get up. You know, and there's no different than there's information that the Moors have where they straight put the gun to that dude and told him get up, or we're gonna shoot you right now and move you out the seat.
So because after that, then they burn that man, they burn the Republican Party,
all that stuff, right? You know, and then remember, along that same time was Black Wall Street and the Trail of Tears, and all these things are going on at the exact same time. Freedman's Bureau and all that. Yeah, up here, right? Everything.
So they could all have done that same card on Abraham Lincoln and Boogie of the card. And he was like, you know what?
I'm Boogie.
Beat it. And they're like, you don't know it.
Yeah.
My boy, the DP, you know what? I like my head back. I'm going to leave you guys alone. I'm bowing out.
I'm bowing out.
You know what I mean? But Abraham was like, you know what?
No.
My head.
Yeah.
So, but could they have done that because his last name is Hamlin too? What if his name? What if he went by or Hannibal?
Johnson?
Like, no,
Like Hannibal Barca?
no, no.
Hannibal Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I was saying, like, if you went by like Hannibal Bay or Hannibal Day, you know.
Yeah.
But maybe they would have had more of a harder time
They-
pushing them out of sea.
Well,
What was
again,
his
by
last name?
By that time,
Hamlin.
Hamlin,
people
yeah.
were ignorant.
People were just ignorant, huh? Because you're going by a slave name right there, Hamlin. So that doesn't give you no jurisdiction to say it to yourself.
Well, again, too, like, you have to remember, the South is making the claim that they don't want a black Republican. That's the fight. The fight is, we want to be the Republic.
Right.
But they don't
Because
have
remember, at that
black
time,
person
they're,
in the
yeah,
seat.
they don't want a brother in the seat,
Right.
right? This is all because remember, we're talking about also too the Reconstruction era.
Right.
So this is the whole thing of, you know, transitioning everything, right? Making them black at the same time, not saying more, right?
So that's what
And-
the
and-
Freedmen's Bureau
The Freedmen's Bureau was, you could say, the first Morris Science Temple,
Okay.
because their job was to educate the blacks, let the blacks know that, you know, you're indigenous to the land, you know, you're free.
Yeah. When the
Right.
slaves are coming back,
The slaves are coming, right.
Okay, you're going to take care of you. fix
We're
you
gonna take
up.
care of you, make sure that you're stable, and then, you know, welfare. Welfare, that's first welfare. Freaking thing.
That's the third time tonight, man.
Whatever happened to the Bureau?
Huh?
What happened to the Bureau?
Yeah, they just disbanded it. Yeah. Right?
How long after the kill Hannibal did this man know?
That it was like pretty much the same time. Yeah, you know, it's like right around the same time.
You'll probably see that before that Reconstruction period, they had ministers of their departments, and after that, it was just secretaries. Just a lazy way of taking over the government.
And more so because we stopped. We because the people, right, are the ones that are supposed to, right? So because nothing happened, right, then Noble Drew Ali came in 1913, did the same thing that the Freedmen's Bureau said. Okay, or you're not Negro, black, colored. Come back over into the fold. You know, get yourself together, right? Now go out there and do what you're saying. Well, more people need to know about this, yeah, because those people from back then were supposed to be doing what we're doing right now with you, but they didn't want to do that. They wanted to sit down in the seat, you know what I mean, and make the seat look good, opposed to doing what they're supposed to do. Take your place amongst the affairs of men, right? But they wanted it to be secretive, even though Noble Drew Ali said, "I came to take away all the secrets." You know? But if you don't have access to that information and you're listening to this guy and you're taking what he's saying about Noble Drew Ali, but you know you don't have anything to reference to say, okay, well, did Noble Drew Ali say that, or is he saying it properly, or you know what I mean, or is this just hearsay? Most of the time it's just hearsay because the people didn't have access. Just like Noble Drew Ali told Moore, enforce the Constitution, enforce the Constitution, enforce the Constitution. All right, but in order for you to enforce it, you have to know what it is. You have to read it in order to enforce it. And if you don't read it, then you're not enforcing anything. You can make the claim all you want. I enforce God. I'm gonna hold you to your constitutional obligation, whatever. Okay. What obligation is that person going to be held to if you don't even know what's in the Constitution that you're telling him to uphold? Right? You know? Like the thing with like with Dr. Sebi, right? Like, how are you gonna say you're conscious and you're whatever when you're calling carbon melanin? You don't even know what you're talking about.
No, I'm saying,
Like,
yeah,
that's what he's saying.
yeah.
Because he's saying that it's carbon,
He's saying it's carbon.
Yeah. which is what it is.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
You know what I mean? Right? But you have people putting out DVDs, whatever, you know, melanin, writing melanin books and all this type of stuff. And then when they write the melanin book, they're gonna say that melanin's carbon. So why don't you just call it carbon then? right? Again, which is what he's getting at. That stop listening to people. You better go study. So if you don't study, guarantee somebody's willing to put you in slavery. And more than likely it's going to be your brother. Just because. That's a prophetic warning by the prophet. Be careful, because your own brother is going to put you in slavery. He's not saying that just to be cool. He's saying that because that's what it is. Right? Which leads us into, right? Which leads us into catechism. Just send those around there. Right? So we're going to close out on what the real religion,
Somebody was saying that.
what the real religion is. Yeah, now you need one for right now.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
What were you saying, fam?
Show me something.
Oh,
Carbon atoms, 6, right? 666. Yeah. Carbon what?
carbon.
6 on the what? Periodic, scientific periodic. Number 6, 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. Oh, yeah.
So it's just defining man. And we take it like it's
How does the math work on that? Tallahassee's son breaks it down like the whole periodic tables out. What's he
For real?
doing? Yeah.
Yeah, he has it, huh?
Yeah, he breaks it
Al
down.
divine, Islam to al divine. Islam. Alright, so, catechism. This is the religion of Moorish Science Temple. When the phrase or the term is made, this movement is religious or whatever, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about, praying to Noble Drew Ali and hymns about Noble Drew Ali and all that, right? Catechism. Manual of religious instruction, usually arranged in the form of questions and answers and used to instruct the young, win converts, and testify to the faith. Right? So Noble Drew Ali put out a booklet called Quran Questions for Moorish Children. You can also get this at RV Bay Publications or MoorishGuidepost.com, or you should be able to walk into any Moorish Science Temple of America, ask for this, and get it free. Right? Quran Questions for Moorish Children. Right? We're all adults in here, right? Okay. Quran Questions for Moorish Children. So, just like Brother Najra was saying, we need to humble ourselves. We don't think we know anything because we don't know a damn thing. Right? The Quran Questions for Moorish Children is also known as the 101 Questionnaire. And it's called the 101 Questionnaire because in catechism, religious instruction is in the form of question and answers. Right? It being in the form of question and answers means call and response, means contracts, offer and acceptance, means one-on-one or one-on-one. So number 1, 01 is really ONE, one-on-one. That's why the most basic class is called 101. Math 101, English 101, Science 101, because you need direct instruction right now so you're clear from this level. And then we could go to stage 2 after you get this. So this is 101, right? So again, this is call and response. So we're going to go through the first part, Moorish American prayer, and without focusing on everybody, right? Just focusing on what we have in front of us. We're all going to say this, and then it's going to be in unison. Without somebody saying 1, 2, 3, right? It's just going to catch up to itself, right? Just because catechism, and this is really religion, right? So we're starting. Moorish American prayer. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Right? Quran questions for Moorish children. So, I'm going to ask the question, and then you're going to respond. And then your response is going to be in unison because you're the one. And then I'm the one. And us doing it together is contracted. So this is a contract that we're making now. Right? Who made you?
Allah.
Who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
Can we see Him?
No.
Where is the nearest place we can meet Him?
In the heart.
Who is Noble Drew Ali?
He is Allah's prophet.
What is a prophet?
Prophet is the thought of Allah manifested in the flesh.
What is the duty of a prophet?
To save nations from the wrath of Allah.
Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Noble Drew Ali.
What year was the Moorish Science Temple of America founded?
1913.
Where?
Newark, New Jersey.
Where was Noble Drew Ali born?
In the state of North Carolina, 1886.
What is his nationality?
Moorish American.
What is your nationality?
Moorish American.
Why are we Moorish American?
Because we are descendants of Moroccans born in America.
For what purpose was the Moorish Science Temple founded? How did the Prophet begin to uplift the Moorish American?
Teaching them to be themselves.
What is your religion? Is that a new or is that an old-time religion?
Old-time religion.
Right? So, you see the pattern. And then, this will be every day catechism. Until this is like, and then eventually we don't even need this and we're just, right? And then we finish with this, and then we pick up circle 7. And then we start chapter 1. And then we read all that together. Right? And then what that's doing is that's getting all of us to have our mentality on the same vibration, the same topic, the same frequency, the same everything at the same time with what the same person brought to all of us. Tell me that's not power. Tell me that that's not the same power that we hear every Sunday when it's hymn time and you're passing by the church. Catechism. Only difference is that they're using the manual of religious instruction, not arranged in the form of questions and not to instruct but to brainwash people. CATECHISM. And that's from Latin catechismus. CATECHISMUS. So the real religion of the Moors is catechism.
Religion is just a series. That's do that. It's a series. See somebody jogging in the Olympics.
They're serious about it, right? What makes them serious? Because they're doing it in repetition.
And that's a religion. And that's all
That's
they
a
talk.
religion.
That's all they talk.
Before you go to bed.
Right. Even that.
Last thing on your mind.
That's the last thing on your mind before you go to bed.
Talk to athletes.
You know what I mean?
All they want to talk about is
Right. Exactly.
Talk to a cook. All they want to talk about is kitchen.
Right. There was some questions that when we were talking, you could try to smash out at least one of those before we close out.
What is the difference between, and Brother Tez will help clear this up further on to I'm just doing this to review. What is this between the US, U.S, and the US of America? USA of America.
So, like we built on before, the United States of America is a union of nation states that were granted a lease on land. So instead of just being companies, i.e. colonies, they could be a lease on our land, on this land. They could be nations instead of being colonies. Because any empire that establishes colonies, their mindset is not to live there. Their mindset is to run a company. There's some resource, some business that they want to do there. That's what a colony is. A colony isn't really people going to live. If people happen to go there, that's because they're either poor, they need work, or they're in that business.
And then put that in context when you think about when they founded India, British India Company, and
British East India Company.
South African Company,
British North America Company,
Hudson's Bay
Company,
yeah,
Rupert's Land. So those were incorporated in Europe, in their mother countries. The United States of America is a public trust, unincorporated company, right? Incorporated indigenously by we the people, right? And its authority to do business is the Constitution of the United States of America, right? So it doesn't need to have corporate bodies. But over time, and by 1865, Reconstruction period especially, you have the U.S. That's a corporation. It doesn't embody any particular state. It appears to be the representative of American people, but it's just a corporation, right? That's what's the word? Conveniently called U.S, right? Similar to the acronym of USA, which supposedly stands for United States of America. But if you don't spell it out, you can't necessarily assume. So United States of America is an agreement between indigenous people and Europeans that these 13 colonies, these will be respected as nations by the indigenous people, right? That's the United States of America.
Can I ask you a question? If someone prints it out as U.S.A, is that going back to the corporate side, or is that just the acronym for the United States?
I would say that with the dots, that's the acronym. Right. When you see U.S., U.S, or even United States,
that's an acronym, but
those are acronyms, but they're not referring to America.
They return to private corporate corporation.
Okay. But the U.S.A
is the acronym if you present it like that. If you don't say U.S.A, I mean the acronym of United States of America. If you don't say that, then they're gonna assume U.S.A is Unity Salvation Allah. If you don't tell them what the abbreviation means, from your perspective, right? That's how we're specific. If you look at, just like they're specific. They don't say United States of America Army. They say U.S. Army. They say U.S. Navy. They don't say United States of America Navy. Whereas that's them straight telling the people that we have nothing to do with the government. Like they're telling people we're the U.S. Right? You go read the Constitution. If you go read the Constitution, we the people of the United States, not we the people of U.S. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish blah 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 blah, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, United States of America could also be a broader perspective, meaning all the continents in the Americas. And this Constitution of the United States of America is where all the other United States of America get the idea for their constitution in their own land, whether they're called Cuba, Mexico, Peru, Trinidad, Jamaica, Tobago, whatever. Their guideline for their constitution is the Constitution of the United States of America. Yeah, because the United States of America is, who we established this constitution for. But in this instance, we know that we're not talking about the United States of America, the phrase meaning all the countries that are part of the Americas as United States. States that are united by a constitution in America.
That's what they're referring to.
That's what we're saying. But this is saying a specific jurisdiction.
Okay. And which one is that? The jurisdiction is saying?
Yeah,
the one just in America.
The one just between Mexico, above
Canada.
Mexico.
Canada.
Put it like that.
Okay, but my question is Canada. What's Canada then? It's a corporation
Nothing.
too. It's a corporation too.
Corporation too.
But owned by who?
The Queen. Just like United States is owned by the Queen. Because those people who are over here in our land, they are from Europe. So their leader, their sovereign, their monarch has to be a king or a queen of Europe. It can't be anything else. Who's their head?
American accent that created Canada.
Yeah.
That's incorporated over Britain. It's like how that works was that the first.
No, it's not. They're gonna have to do it at home first, and then bring it over here and implement it.
That's
because
why there was a British North America,
right?
And then there was the Canada Act.
Right. So that was because they had something set up already.
Right.
That gave them authority.
What's it called? What's the act called? Yeah, exactly.
British.
British too. That's true.
But we're not in Britain right now. So why is British? What does a British act have to do with over here?
Because we consider it colony
Right.
of the UK.
Yeah, right. Well, and now remember what we were saying about colony, right? Colony, private jurisdiction, right? Which is what UK is. Because United Kingdom, what kingdom are you talking about? There's no kingdom in Europe. Europe's a continent. What kingdoms united to be that?
True.
Right?
If they were, there had to be more kingdoms.
Because the first Europeans were us. So,
people, and they got the most gold up there, so
right?
So why were they fighting for the independence then?
Who's that?
If they, like Canadian and American and what's what? If it's still the Queen that owns them anyway.
No, that's just a ploy.
It's the
That's
company.
just a distraction.
They had money. They could pay. They had more money than the Americans had.
The company?
Of course.
Yeah.
You have somebody else backing you. The Americans have nobody in their corner. The Canadians have somebody backing.
Because remember, also too,
Well,
don't forget you have to attach France to it.
Yeah.
Right? Because before British North America Act, it was because the French and the British were fighting for Canada. And then the French, because you know they're all boys or whatever, the French said, okay, take everything, we'll just take Quebec. No problem. Right? Because ultimately all of it is our empire. So it's not, they're not losing nothing. Quebec, France isn't losing nothing by just getting Quebec. You know, because, you know, the story was, we'll tell them that we're going to fight, you know, and the French has jurisdiction now first, and then the French and the British are going to fight, and the French is going to lose, so they're going to have to only get Quebec, and then the British gets everything else. And then everybody's going to think that these guys are two parties, when French and Britain is in Europe. Like, both of them are European countries.
Modern times, just the whole 9/11 thing, they say the man is family, the family just being to each other.
Right, exactly. Same thing.
And how you know too is because the first province to join, the only provinces that are really Canada is Ontario and Quebec.
Really and
The
truly.
British North America Act even says that Ontario and Quebec, that's Canada. Upper Canada, Lower Canada. They tell you what Canada is.
If you look up Treaty of Paris, that'll explain what you were saying.
Yeah.
France giving up England.
Treaty of Paris,
Treaty of Paris.
for people online.
Shortly after that, Royal Proclamation, I think it's
1863, yeah. Royal Proclamation.
Google that. Go to Wikipedia. Then go to the map. And it'll show you all how much of the strip, and there are little piece over there.
I'm was Islam for the close out. And then you can hold on to those. And you know, we'll take some good advice and read our 101 questions tonight before bed.
Yeah.
Get that catechism going on.
So we do the prayer, 5 on the left, 2 on the right, as a custom. Allah, Father of the universe,
Father of the universe,
Father of love,
truth,
peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our guide, and our salvation. By night and by day. He was in her holy prophet. Drew Ali. Amen. Ashe. Hotep. Islam.
Well, before we close out too, one thing though, just read that quick fast.
Okay, so quick little news blurb. Embassy sharing with Britain sparks criticism from the Metro, I guess today.
Yeah.
The plan by Canada and Britain to consolidate consular services in some embassies sparks criticism Monday that the Harper government is turning back the clock on the country's relationship with its former colonial master. By all appearances, the agreement to share some consular services in each other's embassies represented little change from the status quo, but the fanfare associated with the announcement raised questions about whether Canada was compromising its foreign policy interests abroad.
Don't bring that up.
Yeah.
You hear us.
Hear us.